What is your "this person has no idea how the real world works" moment? Guy sold his rent-a-cent TV and couldn't understand why they threatened to charge him for theft. Don't even rent TVs, period. If you can't afford a TV, you prob have more important things to deal with. First day at college. Girl next to me raising her hand and waiting for the R to call on her asks what time will the cleaning services be cleaning our rooms. Man, did she make me feel better. I was poor and got a scholarship. I was so stressed I'd do something stupid first, but she totally jumped on that fire for me. I've met this kind of people before, but in high school. Guy was rich and a lady would come and clean, wash clothes and refill napkin containers, water bottles, etc. One time she got sick and was absent for a few days of the week. Man, could you tell just by looking at the piles of clothes and trash everywhere? I kid you not. There were a pair of jeans with underwear inside them on the living room. The only place of the house I entered. Some of these rich guys depend so much on room service. This kid at my school thought taxes weren't real and just a story. The tax fairy. I've dedicated my life to finding its nest. A vicious beast of a fairy that eludes my capture at every turn. Met a guy at uni who thought Chinese people would be unaffected by the rise of superbugs because they were too smart to fall victim to it. Both a pharmacy student and a Chinese person could not convince him otherwise. I was in the army with someone who wanted to know when the maids came to do laundry in basic training. I was in the Air Force. We didn't have maids in basic, but we turned in our laundry once a week. Our uniforms came back cleaned and pressed, but we had to fold everything else. We also had to make sure to get all the dry cleaning tags off our uniforms or the TIs would get pissed. A friend of mine saw a guy getting arrested in college. Kid was struggling and cussing out the cops like crazy. "Do you know who my father is?" A cop humored him and asked. He owns the #1 used car dealership in upstate New York. We were in Massachusetts. They were unimpressed by his legacy and took him in. Edit: I do not know any used car dealers in upstate New York, and this was 1995. My cousin and I were talking one day and I mentioned that I had a horrible sense of direction. Where my brother could be dropped off in a cornfield and find his way home. She replied that it was easy to find your direction. Just remember, never eat shredded wheat and you will know where north is. I laughed and said that was for remembering the directions in order, not for finding which way was which. We argued for 20 minutes till I told her to show me how it works. She stands up and points forward and says never eat shredded wheat, and points to the direction she was facing when she stood up. That's north. So I told her to face me and then find north. She does it again. Never eat shredded wheat, and points at me and says that's north. So ask her if north just changed. She says no. But north was that way a minute ago. She looks confused and says why didn't that work? I told her it was because she was an idiot. My brother wanted to be a game designer. I asked how that was going and what he had been doing. Mom had gone to Walmart to pick up some art supplies so he could get designing. He did not really know what coding was in terms of game design, and did not know graphic design. He thought he could simply just draw up some swords and guns and shields and someone would pay him to do this for a living. With zero experience. He's almost 30. Air Force. 18-year-old arrives at his first duty station. He has contacted nobody. Nobody knows he is arriving today. He has figured out, by stopping at different offices and asking, where our warehouse is, and enters the office to meet his supervision. Flanked by his girlfriend and his mother. Later on, it is discovered that he fudged his numbers on all his previous fitness tests to that point. Which is why he could barely do 25 push-ups and couldn't run to save his life. Even later on. Becomes hysterical. Sobbing. Panicking. Begging and pleading when told he will deploy to Afghanistan. Like everyone else in the squadron had been doing. For years. This was 2012. We were logistics. We literally loaded airplanes all day. My sister-in-law got in an argument with her brother, my husband and me. Stopped speaking to us. Blocked us on Facebook. and then threatened to sue us for visitation rights to our 6-month-old. My dad asked if he could borrow my cat. I said no. He replied, "It's okay. I'll just rent one." I didn't point out that cat rentals aren't a thing. I still don't know why he needed a cat. I was stunned to how many people after school just expect to instantly get hired to great position with great money. I met my classmate 3 years later still jobless saying, "Lol, I finished school, I won't accept job under XXX, am I crazy?" I knew he had no idea how anything works. There was this girl at uni. Everybody was in awe whenever she talked. She didn't believe in taxes and earthquakes. Also, studying to be a social worker, she said, "I don't like working with retards because I can't stop laughing at them." A real angel. How do you not believe in earthquakes? Live in a part of the world where there are none. In my life I've experienced maybe 5. And I know people who live further away from fault lines than I. A friend of mine decided to quit his job to become a Twitch streamer. Right off the bat I thought this was a stupid plan. But the real kicker was his timeline for his streaming career. He told me he saved enough money to pay his bills for 1 month. 1 month. And after that he would be making enough money from Twitch to pay his bills. He seriously believed that after 1 month he would have between 200 and 300 subs. He refused to advise or use any social media. He won't play any AAA games or even popular games. A year and a half later he's lost his apartment, his car, basically everything but his girlfriend, who he lives with. But hey, he just hit 50 subs followers on Twitch and got affiliated. To him this endeavor has been a total success. Edit. 50 followers not subscribers, got them mixed up. Edit 2. Well, this blew up. I'm not telling you who my friend is, don't ask. I don't want him getting harassed or trolled. I told my friend that I was saving up to get my bathroom remodeled and she said to me, "What, still? It's been 2 months. Yes dear. But I have to pay my bills, mortgage, travel, food, whatever else I may need." She lives at home with her parents still and doesn't have to pay any bills, rent to stay there. She's in for a shock when she moves out. They lived with a dark bedroom for 7 days waiting for the real estate of their rental property to come and change the light bulb. When I learned that JFK didn't know about the Great Depression until he got to university. To be fair, a lot of people who were dirt poor didn't know about it either, because being so poor and then becoming so poor wasn't much of a change for them and they never noticed it. JFK was busy partying it up and hanging out on yachts, but it wasn't uncommon for people to not know of the Great Depression even though they were directly involved in it. 1. A university field trip. Lecturer points out at a watchtower turned Starbucks. "What do you see?" "One girl Starbucks." He goes, "Yes. But what kind of building is it, or seem to be in the past?" All the class said watchtower. And she goes, "Starbucks." He asked her to look at it and she keeps insisting. Then he explained that he understood but that she needed to understand what it was in the past. We were in a history class. And she went, "I don't get it. It's a Starbucks." Edit. I have commented this before. It's just that in that Reddit it didn't get a lot of attention. So, yeah, if it looks familiar, you have your answer. Former barista here. A customer came through drive-thru one afternoon, ordering a custom drink that cost about $5. While on the phone, he dug change out of the corners of his van and handed me what amounted to less than $3. I continued looking at him with my hand extended, half full of dirty coins, when he just shrugged and said, "That's all I got." I repeated the total and said he hadn't given me enough. "Can't you just spot me with your tip sum?" Excuse me. First, no. That's literally my grocery money. And second, our company had a strict policy against doing just that. But I simply apologized and said no. I couldn't do that. He blew up at me, saying I wasn't being very neighborly. I again apologized and explained how I relied on my tip money to, you know, eat. Instead he screamed at me again, "You suck. You really suck," before driving away. Side note, it was a small town and most people there don't know how the real world works. Edit. I did not work at Starbucks. Edit 2. I gave him the money back. It was gross. My ex-wife's roof on her house was damaged from a storm. The roofing company wanted $1,700 up front to fix it. The insurance company sent her a check for $700. They would send a check for the rest when the job was complete. They sent her that little because she chose a $1,000 deductible. In anger, she sent the check back. Several years later, out of curiosity, I looked up her name on that website that shows if you have outstanding payments coming to you, and she does. I thought about contacting her and letting her know, but was good friends with this girl in college. I knew she was spoiled, free reign of daddy's credit card, but it was never a big deal. After college, she couldn't grasp why I couldn't spend the next 6-12 months backpacking through Europe with her. Which she wanted to do because she didn't feel like getting a job yet. The idea that I had to get a job to support myself and start paying back student loans was completely foreign to her. Her answer to everything was, have your parents pay for it. Sorry honey. That is not how the real world works. My little brother, who was, and I fear still kinda is, adamant that he would grow up to be an actor all through high school without trying to pursue any acting related things. Quit drama club freshman year and never looked back. Didn't work towards getting into an acting program in college. Spent more time on his video games than acting. But I guess he was just banking on being discovered and put into roles due to handsomeness. It's hard enough to make that dream work for people who are actually trying. My ex-GF dumped me because she said I don't want to work when I'm 30. With the undertone that I would not be able to support a stay-at-home lifestyle. She's currently pursuing a master's in psych and she'll finish around 26 or 27. Then she has 3 years, which I assumed she'll practice counseling until she wants to stop working. At which point she expects some dude to just pay her way. So she dumped me and found this chud who had his 10-year plan. He was gonna get his undergrad, go to business school, and then go to law school. So he's not even going to finish school until about 29. So then he's got 1 year to start making enough money to support his wife, who is no longer going to work for the rest of her life. Duck both of them, lol. That sounds awful. I worked on a group project with these 2 girls in high school. We had met up at a library over the weekend, and when I pulled into the parking lot, one of them said something about my car. I said, yeah, I love this car, but someone keyed it in a parking lot all down the passenger side. Look how deep it is. I told her I couldn't fix it beyond some touch-up paint either, because that would require sanding it down and all that. She looked me dead in the eye with a look like I was crazy and said, well, why don't you go buy some elbow grease? I hear that fixes everything. Dead serious. Girl had heard about Just Give It Some elbow grease and got it into her head that this was a product you could buy to fix just about anything. She did not contribute much to our group project. One of my co-workers told me she couldn't get the flu as an adult because she had it as a kid. Friend of mine thinks paying taxes is to control the people. Instead of paying taxes, people should just get together and pay collectively for the infrastructure they will use. So they don't have to pay for things they won't use. One of the candidates for the Mexican presidency is proposing giving all farmers and everyone in the countryside a smartphone and a tablet. The thing is, in those areas there is no electricity and no internet. There isn't even proper plumbing. But smartphones and tablets sound good. My mother asked my wife's family if they want to go overseas with them next week. As in a week. Can you schedule off work, make hotel reservations, and pay for it all within a week? In case it wasn't obvious, my family is much more well off than my wife's. My ex-girlfriend was really guilty of this. We dated all through college and didn't really understand the extent of which taxes are taken out of a paycheck. She also had an expectation that everyone also made 70-80k coming out of college. So with this reasoning, she expected to live lavish lifestyle as soon as she finished her degree. There's a reason she's my ex. A guy I know once said, I don't get homeless people. Just buy a house. He is a spoiled rich kid who has no idea how money works. Never had a job. Never done any hard work in his life and is barely scraping through university. One time I made the mistake of trying to do laundry in my dorm's laundry room during parents' weekend. I walked in to see rows of haggard looking mothers with massive bags of their children's clothes. Laundry is free at our school. And the machines are ridiculously simple to use. One of my friends is still mystified by taxes and gets his parents to do them for him. He's 32 and single. I hope to high heaven some smart lady finds him attractive. I worked with a girl who took so much leave at work. Her balance got down to 0 hours. Then, she was shocked when they wouldn't loan her hours that she could pay back over the next few pay periods. Not sick leave. Just leave. There's currently a pregnant girl, 19, at work. She cried actual tears because they made her work in the kitchen. That's literally half of her job. She thinks they're not going to fire her. They are so going to fire her. I mentioned the pregnant thing because she only wants to sit at work. It's not a sitting job. I get it. I've got 4 kids. Pregnancy is not the most fun thing ever, but you actually have to work at a job. She's just so young for her age and has definitely been spoiled up to this point. Now she's going to be a single mom. Life is going to beat the hell out of her. I think she'll come out of it and hopefully be a much stronger adult afterwards though. She just has a lot of growing up to do.